What is up, everybody? It is your boy Nick Noodles coming at you with another great video. Today we're talking about common reseller mistakes. These are mistakes that I made in the last 1.5 years of reselling. If you're a more experienced reseller and I missed some topics, definitely leave a comment down below. I'd really appreciate it, but without further ado, let's go ahead and start talking about some of these mistakes. Now, the first mistake I see is not joining a cook group. Now, I just joined one in August or September, and it has honestly elevated my reselling game so much. I pay $15 a month for mine. It's browser. They're doing restocks, I think, for $20 a month, so you definitely want to follow their Twitter or Instagram. I'm not sponsored by them, but I've had so much success being in that group, and most cook groups are going to range anywhere from being free to $100. Now, you're going to get what you pay for. I wouldn't recommend paying $100 for a cook group, though. The most I would pay is like $50 or $60. You may be wondering, what do I get out of being in one of these cook groups? And it varies from each one, but for the most part, they're going to have dedicated support either with their moderators or their veteran botters that are in the group. The reselling game can be pretty exclusive. People don't want to give up their secrets to success, so being in a cook group kind of eliminates that exclusivity. They also have restock monitors for pretty much any site that you can imagine. Now, you could go and follow a bunch of Twitter accounts or sign up to a bunch of email subscriptions for restocks, but if you follow those, then you're going to get pinged for any type of retweet or promotional tweet that they have, and it can be really annoying when you're only looking to get notified for like one specific item. So being in a cook group allows you to just eliminate all that spam and just focus on what you want to go for in terms of restocks. They also usually offer group buys on either top tier bots or a lot of beta and up and coming bots that you normally wouldn't be able to get access to. And they usually will have some type of release guide for every single hype drop, what sites these drops are releasing on, the type of resale value you can expect. And again, you can do all of that research yourself, but it's going to take you so much time to, stay on the ball of what's dropping and where it's dropping. So being in a cook group just eliminates all that extra work, and I personally think that it's worth it. The second mistake I see a lot of resellers making is prioritizing holding over quick flipping when they don't have a lot of capital. Now, this is a mistake that I personally made. Over the summer, I spent like $1,000 on shoes that I thought we're going to go crazy and resell in a few months. And honestly, a lot of the shoes ended up bricking or didn't increase in price at all. So I pretty much had just wasted that money. I was able to get most of it back, or I ended up just keeping some of the shoes I invested in. But I honestly think if you don't have thousands of dollars, like $3,000 or $4,000 to just invest, I highly recommend just quick flipping whatever you can, selling it as fast as possible, because otherwise you're just not going to have as much money to invest into other releases. For example, Yeezys and Jordan 1s, they show great potential to go up in value, but at the end of the day, you have to set aside $170, $180 to $240, $250, and to make a $50 to $100 profit in 6 months or a year. I honestly think that you can make that much money quick flipping in a month than you would holding Jordan 1s or Yeezys for however long it takes to make that same amount of money. The reason why Sneaker Invest is so successful at holding is because he buys in bulk and he's able to hold thousands of dollars of shoes and not have to worry about am I going to have much money for the next release or even have money to pay my bills. Building off of that, I think another common mistake people make is not selling at the right time. Now, you have to commit to either holding an item or selling an item right away. And what I mean by this is that pretty much after every single release, once pairs come in, the market price for whatever item, it's gonna drop at least 20 or 30 bucks, maybe even more so. So if you're not looking for the long-term hold, you want to sell pretty much as soon as possible. Otherwise, you're just going to be losing money. I've done this before where I thought I wanted to hold an item and then I waited like a month to sell it because I really needed the money. And by that time, it had already dropped like $50 or even $100 from when I had it in hand and I could have sold it to the highest bid on StockX. If you're going for Supreme every week and Supreme ships to you before the StockX deadline, which is usually 5 business days after the release on Thursday, you can honestly take the highest bid on StockX the day of the release. That's when the price is going to be the highest. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait a couple months before the item hits that same resale price that you could have sold it at day one. Another example is if you get an early access on the Sneakers app and you get it in hand before the actual release, I highly recommend either selling it right away because usually the prices before the drop are always the highest, or you can even wait until drop day because once people take L's on whatever sneakers release, they're just going to go rage cop it on StockX, especially if they were expecting the stock of the shoe to be a lot higher and it's a lot lower than initially intended. Number 4 is buying stuff that is in your personal size. I've done this so many times where I get an item that I want to resell and I see it in hand and it's in my size and I'm just too attached to it. I can't let it go and make the profit that I was supposed to on it. So if you're strictly in the game of reselling, don't go for your personal size because it's going to be a lot harder to let go of it once you get it in hand. Another mistake I see people doing is not accounting for all the fees involved when they're reselling stuff. This like grinds my gears when I see other YouTubers do this on their reselling videos. They'll be like, I bought this item for $10 and I sold it on eBay for $15. So that's a $5 profit, yippee. But what they're not showing is that they actually paid $8 to ship the item and then another $2 or $3 from eBay fees and PayPal fees. So at the end of the day, they're actually losing money, but they're kind of portraying this image that they're making $5. I absolutely hate when people do that. So make sure, you know, when you're selling stuff and you're listing stuff at a certain price, you account for all the fees that are going to be taken out of that final sale price. Shipping is going to cost you usually at least $7 or $8 more if it's like a pair of shoes or something like that. There's also packing supplies, like packing tape is not cheap, bubble wrap is not cheap, and you can get away with not using that, but on some more expensive items, I think it's definitely better to just package it as best as you can. And then also don't forget about platform fees. It's different depending on if you're selling on eBay, Grailed, StockX, Goat. There's a lot of free calculators online that'll calculate what type of fees you can expect from an item that you're going to sell, so definitely look into that. The next mistake is kind of similar to investing in stuff and holding stuff when you don't have enough capital, and that is starting to bot when you don't have enough capital. I see this question all the time on the ShoeBot sneaker Reddit. People are like, I have $500 to invest in a bot. What should I get? And every time I see that post, I comment, save your money until you can spend a few thousands on a bot, because at the end of the day, if you're just going for personal items, you're going to spend more on a beginner bot than you would just paying resale for the item on StockX. You can go and buy a Nike shoe bot for $500 or $350 if you're lucky on a group buy, but you might not see the success that you're expecting, and then you might be out $350 or $500, and you're just worse off than when you were going for stuff manually. Botting is very expensive, and I could make a whole video talking about who botting is for and how much money you need, but I honestly think you need a few $1,000s saved up to just invest in one of the top tier bots that you are certain is going to be able to guarantee you success. And even then, if you have like Kodai or Cybersoul, even then with a $5,000 or $6,000 bot, you're not always guaranteed success, so keep that in mind. Another thing people often overlook in their botting budget is the budget for the item itself. So let's say you spend $1,000 on a bot and proxies and your budget's $1,500. You're only leaving yourself $500 to spend on items that you are going to flip for a profit. And on a release day, that can go out the door in 2 seconds. $500 budget can get you 2 box logo hoodies, 2 Yeezys, 2 Jordan 1s, and how much profit are those going to make you? At most $100 an item, but if it's like a Jordan 1 or a Yeezy, you're going to be making like $20 or $30 profit day one because the market is just too oversaturated. So I highly recommend just saving your money up, doing quick flips, elevating your manual game by joining a cook group, and when you have the ability to spend thousands on a bot, then I would recommend getting into it. My next mistake I see, and this mainly only applies to the post office, but it's not printing your shipping label ahead of time. I've seen it so many times in the past month or two where I walk into the post office and there's like 10 or 15 people waiting in line to ship their stuff out. But I go in with my pre-packaged label every single time, and all I have to do is just drop off the package and walk out. It takes me literally 30 seconds to do that transaction, whereas some of these people are waiting 20 or 30 minutes to stand in line just to pay the same amount that they would have paid if they had just printed it ahead of time. I highly recommend investing in one of these scales so that you can accurately weigh your packages. It just saves so much time, especially if you're making frequent trips to the post office. That 20 or 30 minutes you save each time is going to add up and just make your life a lot easier. My last piece of advice, and this mainly only applies to people over 18, because if you're under 18, it might be harder for you to do this, but it is to get a credit card. Getting a credit card is just a really good thing to do. It helps boost your credit score so that You can get lower interest rates on whatever loans you're going to take out in the future. I'm not an economics expert, but I know that it's just good to have a credit card, especially when you're young. It's also really good for reselling stuff because you could use it to buy items, and then you can even sell the items and then pay off the credit card bill with the profit. And this way, the money that you're spending on shoes and stuff doesn't directly cut into your checking or savings account, which you might need for like an emergency or for your bills. Another benefit of a credit card, most of the time you'll be able to get cash back on whatever you spend. You can also get points towards like dinner, gas, or even like a airplane ticket. So definitely worth investing in a credit card. It just helps budgeting a lot more, and allows you to purchase more of an item, especially if you know you can resell it within a week. So that pretty much wraps up this video. That's all my advice for reselling. If you like this video, definitely leave a like down below. If I missed anything, definitely leave your advice down in the comments, and I will see you all on the next video.